Hi there, everyone, and welcome to Paper Wishes Weekly Webisodes. I'm Sara Newman, and I'm so happy you're joining me for this episode of Saturday with Sara. Today we're playing with a beautiful collection from our friends at 49 and Market called Moonlit Garden. And this collection includes papers, laser cut embellishments, rub-ons, epoxy stickers, plus 2 spiral notebooks. So let's take a closer look, and we can start with our paper pack. I'm going to move aside the notebooks just for a second so we can take a closer look at some of the paper designs that we have inside here. Now here in this collection you have 28 sheets, 3 each of 9 double-sided pattern papers plus 1 fussy cut element sheet. You have vintage text, flowers, butterflies, postmarks, all with this soft collage effect and beautiful color palette that we love from 49 and Market. The sheets measure 6 inches by 8 inches, so they're the perfect size for card making and so much more. Now, here's that fussy cut element sheet that you've got in there as well, so you can see there's a lot to work with in here. Now, let's take another look at those spiral notebooks. There are 2. There's a small one. This is 4.5 inches by 6, and a larger size, which is 8 by 6.25. And while these have gorgeous collage pattern papers inside, you can also decorate them with the paper pack as well as our embellishments that we have today. The little one has some tabs along the edges of the pages as well. And then here's our larger one. Really gorgeous. Now you could actually handwrite on here if you wanted to. There's a nice muted background, but definitely plenty of space in here for photos, for memorabilia, for quotes, for thoughts. Lots of possibility here. So just a few of those pages inside. Now to go along, of course, we've also got our embellishments. So let's take a look here. Now these are the rub-ons, and in this set you have 6 sheets, and you're going to have botanicals. You've got some beautiful butterflies in here. There are also background elements. I love working with these. Some black and white, and then also the sentiments, really useful for the front or the inside of your card. Then we also have a set of 77 laser cut images. These are really beautiful. Now let's take a look here. I'll flip this over, and this is the front cover of the package, but you can see here you have some fussy cut elements, so you can put those to use as well. And the laser cuts are just going to pop right out of the backing sheet here. Lots of gorgeous elements in here. They're really easy to use, and they are just stunning. And I like how you've got elements that are larger size as well as some smaller accent pieces like these blossoms and the butterflies too. So those are our laser cuts. And then finally, you also have a pack of 153 epoxy stickers. You've got everything from dots to hearts and little words as well. Now, of course, everything is designed to coordinate perfectly, making it so fun and easy to create beautiful cards and other paper crafts. I think you can see how many possibilities there are with this collection, and I cannot wait to explore it with you. I'm so glad you're here today. Come play with us. I wanted to start with one of the spiral notebooks in today's collection. So remember, there are 2 that come together, and they're only $8 for both. They're a lot of fun to decorate and can be used for so many different themes. Now with the smaller size notebook, I envisioned it as an address book. So there are 5 tabbed pages inside. So you could divide it by portions of the alphabet and just fill in with your own handwriting on some of those tabs. Or it could also be turned into a small scrapbook with photos or recipes or pocket pages. It could hold quotes, or it could be a planner. And in thinking of this as an address book or maybe a mini scrapbook, I've titled my cover with this Time Together rub-on, which I applied to a tone-on-tone striped paper from the paper pack. I die cut it into a rectangle using the hot off the press dies and added that larger nested scallop shape underneath. So let's take a look at applying a rub-on. I'm going to bring in a piece of this really pretty tone-on-tone striped pattern paper. And then I've got one of the rub-ons from the collection. Now, I've snipped this out from the main sheet of rub-ons, and in doing so, I've kept both the layers together. So there's the rub-on and then there's the liner piece here. So I'm going to keep those two together until I decide exactly where I want to apply it. And then I can pull this part off. I'm taking care not to handle the back of the design here. And then I'll just position this down. Now I've got my applicator tool, which comes with the rub-ons. And all I'm going to do is just use the edge of this to gently but firmly burnish that design in place. So I'm using a gentle but firm sort of circular motion here. I'm going to go around and make sure that I get all of the edges as well as the center of that design. And then when I think I've got it all transferred, I'm just going to gently pull up slowly, starting from one side and then working around to see that I've got all of those elements transferred. And I can see I missed a little part down there, so I can just place it back down and add that. And then come along here. Oops, there's another one. And then lift this off and I am ready to go. So you can see you've got some texture and some dimension on here quickly and easily. And they work beautifully either onto a plain cardstock or paper or onto patterned. So lots of options that you can do with those rub-ons, and you can see they're really simple to apply. And then coming back to the cover, so I've added this rectangular piece with some foam tape, and I have laser cut leaves tucked underneath, both top and bottom. I have a cluster of laser cut leaves, flowers, and a butterfly on top here. Now the butterfly up here is also another rub-on that I've just applied right onto the front cover here. And then I've got a couple of epoxy dots at the top corners. Then for the inside, I used a lot of my paper scraps and offcuts, just adding in a rub-on or a laser cut embellishment on here, but also allowing plenty of space on the inside pages for writing or pictures or notes or memorabilia. So there's a lot that you can do with this little mini spiral album. Super fun to do and also would make a great gift. Okay, do you want to see the other album? So we've got two, as I mentioned, in the set, large and small. And this one I thought would also make a nice gift, either for yourself or for someone you love. And in this case, I thought it would make a wonderful scrapbook, and especially one for either a heritage theme or wedding or anniversary. So for the front cover, I've got a couple of rub-ons. I did the leaves here and the butterfly, but everything else was already pre-printed on here, so I didn't have to do a whole lot. I did add this oval die cut piece of pattern paper with the photographs and memories rub-on, and a couple of epoxy dots down here. You can see how useful those are. And then on the inside pages, I used the hot off the press rectangle dies to add in photo mats. So you can see I've got two rectangles on a large scalloped mat here. I'm adding in some rub-ons and some of the laser cut embellishments, and some of those pieces will be overlapping. So if you can envision some photos in here, or you could also, of course, do this as a gift for someone and leave the photo spaces blank. And I have to thank my friend Anne Marie, who, when my daughter was born 13 years ago, created an album something similar to this, where all the pages were decorated and the photo spaces were blank. So all I had to do was put in photos and everything else was decorated and ready to go. So something like that would make a nice gift. Now, if you are gifting this to a crafter and wanted to include these elements separately so they could be added after the gift recipient put in the photos, that could also work there too. So again, a wonderful gift either for yourself or for someone you love. Perfect for photos as well as memorabilia, notes, thoughts, and so much more. The rub-ons in today's collection are so beautiful and they are so versatile too. And this card project shows you a little bit more of how you can use them. separately as well as together. So my focal element is a nested die cut circle of pattern paper on which I have two rub-ons. I have the hello message and I have a butterfly. And what I want to point out is that the butterfly is slightly overlapping the word. So if you want to create more layers with your rub-ons, it's really simple to do. Okay, I'm going to bring in a piece of cardstock where I've applied this really pretty leaf rub-on. And then I'm going to bring in another rub-on here, the word best. And again, I'm keeping the two elements together, the liner and the backing sheet, until I know where I want to put this. So I'm just going to, before I place it down, just kind of gently figure out where I might want that to go. And I can have that overlapping the rub-on that I've already applied. Okay, so I'm going to smooth this down. Same process as before, coming in with my applicator tool and just gently but firmly burnishing that design in place. And you might think that if you apply one rub-on on top of another one, that when you pull off that top sheet, that it would remove some of the first rub-on, but it doesn't happen. So I will show you. Okay, let's make sure I've got this all rubbed on. And then same process as before, gently lifting this up so I can make sure I've got all of the pieces in place. And there we go. So now I've got a really pretty overlapping element. And this is nice if you like to overlap elements in your projects to kind of lead the viewer's eye through all of the different designs. It's a great way to go. So again, I've got my butterfly wing and some of those little splotches on there overlapping my hello. And this is all onto a pattern paper, so I've really got some nice extra layers going on there. Then behind my focal, I have this really pretty detailing. It's quite subtle, so I'll kind of lift up a little bit of it here so that you can see top, sides, and bottom. Now this is from the double diamond background die. So let me show you this. This is one I use quite a lot, which is why the packaging looks like this. But this is a fantastic design. It gives you the diamond design with a rectangular frame. In fact, let me show you what this looks like die cut out. So you've got a really beautiful background, and then you've also got the frame on here. Perfect size, of course, for your standard card. Now, I love it like this, but I also like to just grab a pair of scissors and kind of cut out a bit more of a freeform shape. So simply snipping away some of the frame. Now you can angle around the different portions of the diamonds on here, but essentially what I do is come along and just snip away that outer frame. And let's do a little bit here, angling around, and well, let's snip that part off there too. And then I've got kind of a free-form effect, and this can work beautifully just layered as part of a background on the rest of your card. So that's what I've done here, and I've die cut that from a really soft kind of teal, pale blue, and then just used my sticky specs to adhere that on here. Now, before I place that down, I also added some rub-ons here. You can see one here and then one down below as well. So creating lots and lots of beautiful different layers. And of course, I've got some epoxy dots down here at the bottom for, again, a little bit more texture. Now I've also inked the edges and the outside of my paper pieces using the blueberry ink from Hunky Dory, and it just worked beautifully with this color combination. Then for my card inside, I have this piece of collage pattern paper. I love this. I just love all the colors and the texturing on here. And I've got a flower rub-on, this beautiful sort of ethereal looking flower placed down, so that's a rub-on, and then I have another rub-on going again, overlapping right on top. And then I've got a butterfly laser cut. Really easy, beautiful design to incorporate. So then I've got another card here, also with a layering technique, and this time just using plain white vellum, which adds such a gorgeous effect to these pattern papers. So grab your vellum for these techniques because it works beautifully with the designs in today's collection. So first I've covered my card front with the black faux texture paper and then cut a piece of this beautiful collage pattern paper, just slightly smaller. Now I also inked the edges with blueberry. My focal is one of the frame cutouts, and I wanted to create some depth with the message here as well as the laser cuts. So I cut out the inside of the frame and then backed it with plain white vellum and added the laser cut flowers and the rub-on. So yes, the rub-ons work beautifully on vellum too. Now, one thing I would just suggest you keep in mind is that vellum can have a tendency to get some white creases on it. So here you can see I've got a butterfly already applied onto this vellum. And I'm going to put a piece of black cardstock behind here. I think you may be able to see some of those white creases there. That's where I was a little not so careful with the tip of my applicator tool. So just be aware you need to exercise a little bit of caution when you're doing a rub-on onto vellum, just to make sure that you don't do any creasing marks onto that vellum. It can be susceptible to that. Then I added some foam tape to the back of the frame and placed it on the card front. This gives me some nice depth and dimension and prevents the patterns and the embellishments from competing with one another. There's another little epoxy heart right on here too, and a gingham bow as an accent. For the card inside, I have another piece of pattern paper, also with the edges inked, and this rectangle of pattern paper as well as some vellum with a sentiment on there. I've added some laser cuts around the outside edges to create a frame. Our final project really showcases the laser cut embellishments. These are so pretty and they make such an easy and elegant part of a card design, whether you use them as background elements or as the focal, as I've done here. Now we have a lot of layers going on this card, so let's have a look, beginning with the focal element. So I've started with this die cut square of collage pattern paper, which already has a lot of layering and some faux texture on here. Now on top of this, I added a couple of text background rub-ons. You can see them right here in some of this open space, and I've got the sentiment going on here as well. Now on top of this, I have two laser cut floral pieces. So I've got this one which has the two daisies, and then I've got another one over here which is a separate laser cut with the blue flowers, and this one also has a little daisy piece on here. And then I grouped them together and added some more dimension with these two flower tops, which are popped up on foam tape. So these were two separate laser cut die cuts. So you can do some of your own mixing and matching on here. Now let me show you another example. So I'm going to bring in this piece. Now this has two flower elements, two different laser cuts. So this one here with the leaf and the flower, and then this one which I've glued underneath, which also has a nice flower as well as some of the buds on here. I'm using sticky specs to secure these down too. That's a really good way of adhering your really fine, intricate laser cuts. So I've got my two pieces down here. Now I also have some of these laser cut elements which are also on that same sheet. So what I can do is simply grab a little bit of double-sided tape, some foam tape here, and position these either offset or directly on top of the original flower. Let's see if I can position this on here. And that's going to give me some nice dimension on here. Now what I can also do is say, okay, well I've got this stem here which doesn't have anything on top. I can leave that as it is, or I can use another one of the laser cuts and put this right on top too. And then maybe I've got some open space here. I'll take a third one. This one is a little bit smaller, and maybe just position this down like so. So I'm able to sort of fluff out or grow my original piece and make it larger, make it more dimensional. So much fun. And so you've got a couple of those in your package of laser cuts with some fun things that you can add on to. So then back to the card. I've covered the card front with the collage pattern paper and added in some rub-ons top and bottom on here. Now I also have a couple of scalloped edge pieces, which I made using the scallop squares from hot off the press. So the same nesting scallop squares that I've used for so many webisodes. I'm using just the edge though, just a portion of that scallop die. So I've got a little bit of an edge down here, and I've also got one on this piece that I'm using as a border. So let me show you how I do this. So again, moving this out of the way, I've got just a snippet of this beautiful tone-on-tone pattern paper, and then here is my square scalloped die. So if I wanted to create an edge like this, all I need to do is position this along one edge of my paper, and this is a great way to use up your offcuts or your snippets. Secure it down in place with a little bit of low-tack tape, and then run it through your die cutting machine, and then you'll have a piece that looks like this. So you just need the edge there, and then what you can do is glue it to the back of another piece of pattern paper. Trim off the edges if you want to. And then you've got a nice little scalloped edging piece on there. Now the other thing you can do too, so that's what I've done for this portion. The other thing you can do is take a piece of off-cut paper like I've done here, and then just position this so you have the very edge of it. And then you could create a piece that looks like this. So you've got a fun scalloped edge on one end, and that can just be positioned down as another element on your card. So lots of fun ways that you can put those scalloped edges to use as something more than your scalloped nesting die. Although I have to say I use them both ways quite a lot. Some of my favorite and most versatile dies in my stash. Okay, so then I've got another little snippet of this same border piece tucked up on here. I've done some inking around the edges of this piece as well as the card front, and that is using the Velvet Fawn ink from Hunky Dory. So I've added a little bit of shading around there. Then for my card inside, I have a really simple flower rub-on with another sentiment applied overlapping. And that is our final project of the day today. So a big thank you to our friends at 49 & Market, one of my very favorite brands to work with, and I think you can tell. Not only is it gorgeous, but it's so much fun to work with. A special thanks to you for joining me today. We're so glad that you're here, and we're happy that you're a part of our Paper Wishes family. Do feel free to leave a comment. We love to hear what you think. Each item can be purchased separately, and you can see them below. However, we've also bundled them into a creative money saver just for you. For the money saver, just see this webisode on paperwishes.com. And if you're watching us on YouTube, have a look in the description box below this video. You'll find a link that will take you to our Paper Wishes webisodes page, and you can see everything I just mentioned. If you enjoyed our video today, we'd really appreciate a thumbs up. It helps people to find our channel. And don't forget to subscribe. We create 3 to 5 videos each week, so there's always something fun to inspire your creative spirit.